I'm John, welcome to the gun shop, and this is the review of the Lanber Sporter. So, having established that it is a good-looking but rather plain gun, let's have a good look over it. So starting at the back, we have a hard rubber heel plate, stamped Lanber, very standard on these guns, very nice. A little bit of give, but not too much. Grade 2 wood, usually lacquered, but with quite a thin lacquer. It's more like a true oil finish, if you like. So it's actually quite easy to remove. It is semi-oiled, if you like. So it's easy to remove, easy to look after. Stamped checkering, you know, they didn't waste any money on that. But who cares? Really, who cares? It gives you grip and it works, and it doesn't not worn out. Quite an open pistol grip. A single gold trigger, which is quite nice. Non-adjustable. Manual safety. Top lever, black top lever. Ejectors. Barrels, they're black. Tramline rib, sort of a little bit like a la Maruku. Selector. Schnabel forend. Standard lever release, spec'd very well, or at least more spec'd very intelligently. And I suppose there is a reason for that. These guns were imported to the UK by the same people who imported Beretta, GMK. After their real success with Beretta, they went out in search of a cheaper end gun to bring onto the market, and this is what they came out with. You know, they left Italy, they went over to Spain, where these are made. They're a Basque region gun maker, Lanber Armas, and worked with them. And it's always nice, and there's a few companies now that really do work with these continental gun makers to produce a gun that's a little bit more for the British market, let's say. A little bit more British, perhaps, than built for the Continentals. Anyway, this is what they came up with, the Lanber. Lanber, you'll never hear a bad word about Lanber. They were built to last. You know, they built on the perfect balance between robustness and refinedness. They weren't a big, heavy, clunky gun. They felt like an amazing quality gun, but I believe when they first came out they were about £450, £500, so they were a very reasonably priced gun. Going back, there's some very old models of Lanber out there, and they're probably best avoided, mostly due to lack of parts. However, in this modern carnation, parts are still available and will still be available. Not that you particularly need them. Before we go any further, there is bad news. Lanber no longer exist. They are no longer imported to this country, and it's sad. It is really sad. The problem is they just outpriced themselves from the market. What was once a 450 quid gun was touching on the door of £1,000. You know, it chased up in value so much behind its competitors or what other things were available. The market was opened up to Turkish guns, Yıldız and the like, and suddenly what was a good quality value gun sort of led somewhere between too close to a Beretta not to buy a Beretta, or equivalent, and too expensive for somebody who wanted to buy a reasonably priced gun. So this particular model, the Sporting Deluxe, was one of 4 models offered. There was a Sporting Deluxe, a Sporting Gold Deluxe, a Field, and a Field Deluxe. The difference really being the engraving and the rib. The Field rib was a very narrow rib, very nice, and the Sporter rib was like this. Wide with tram lines down the middle. Immensely well thought out. I can't say that enough. That for a budget gun, these shoot and handle very well. You'll never hear a bad word about them. All you'll hear perhaps is people who are a bit snobby about them, and I know probably some of you accuse me of being a gun snob, but this is a little hole in my heart, is everybody's probably had a Lanber and everyone should have a Lanber. The world has changed and they're no longer the gun to have as a budget entry level gun, but they really should be. So what makes it good? simplicity makes it good. Like with all of these things, simplicity is the key. When people in the budget range certainly start going outside of the box and picking designs that aren't, let's say, more old-fashioned, that's where they go wrong. This gun internally takes so much from, well, Browning, takes stuff from Rizzini, takes stuff from all of the big gun makers, chucked it into its own design, which is fairly similar, and boom, you have it. You know, for a small period of time they tried a few different things, but they just didn't work. Weaker components, trying to be more refined, but within the same frame. It just didn't work for them. Their original recipe was the best recipe, or at least their second carnation, their GMK carnation, was the best recipe, and that is what we know and love here. One of the best parts is the replaceable pins in the front, a little bit like Beretta have, these replaceable joint pins in the front. So at any point when it does become loose, a bit like some other manufacturers, you buy oversized parts, bolt them in, job done, and you're ready to go for another 100,000 rounds, which is a lot of rounds for a gun that costs you £500, considering that 1,000 cartridges is going to cost you £200. Yeah, I know. But for a truly wonderful, basic and entry level, but definitely not entry level feel experience, Lanber, you will not go far wrong. However, now it's all down to the second-hand market, and you can find anything from a £200 double trigger or a non-ejector for sort of £50, sometimes the SK80, the old models, but the modern carnations, £300 to £600 would be where you're at, depending on condition, whether it's got the box, whether it's got which model it is, and so on and so forth. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.